Yeah. And I want to go back a little bit because you talked about how when you were in traditional recovery before all of this, that you were like downing a bunch of sugary soda. So I hear also the sugar cravings when they're, even when people are reducing their drinking using the Sinclair method and they're kind of titrating down. So I know you mentioned some supplements to address that, but could you kind of restate that again? Just things for people who may be turning to like candy and things while they're reducing or stopping drinking, and what would be best to address that?
Mm-hmm. L-Glutamine is a big one.
Keep going, but that seems like the magical one.
That was a miracle supplement for me. Now, on its own, it might not necessarily be enough. And there are complex, really complex mechanisms through which all of this worked. So as I said, to restore GABA levels in order to feel relaxed, which might have an indirect effect on what you're consuming. Maybe you're eating sugar because you can't relax in part. You need B6 and magnesium as well. There could be other nutrients that come together. I think they found that chromium supplementation, which is in a lot of good multivitamins, can help to reduce sugar cravings as well. And just diet is actually a big part of it too. So if you're eating enough protein and good fats, then you're less likely to have intense sugar cravings. But I found that, and switching to complex carbs also can help. A lot of people ask if they should go to the keto diet or something extreme like the carnivore diet. I'm not against any of those things, but it seems like in early recovery, start out with basic supplements. If you have a massive sweet tooth, maybe increase the L-glutamine, make sure you're getting some chromium, and make sure you're not pounding sugar all the time, or try to taper down on the sugar. I found that switching to complex carbohydrates was a necessary first step before I got to a point where I could do fasting, which has its own benefits, and that's a different topic, or to where I could eat mostly good fats and protein and feel satiated without getting hangry. I haven't been hangry in a long time, and I think that's because I'm no longer carb addicted. A lot of people are carb addicted. I do eat some carbs. Presently, I have sourdough bread occasionally. I like sprouted Ezekiel bread. I try to stay away from American grains because they have so much gluten and gliadin and glyphosate, potentially the pesticide. I don't want to ruin my gut health. So making common sense diet changes and educating yourself about how to keep your blood sugar stable can really help. And also getting enough sleep. At least in the beginning, I thought of my recovery. Once I found these nutrients that help so much, I went from, feeling 20% of how I should feel to like 60% with the nutrients alone. I started thinking it's all about which pills I take, but lifestyle is just as important. Exercise and sleep and getting sun, walking barefoot sometimes outside, getting fresh air. All of those things can be important in hormonal regulation. And as I found with alcohol recovery and fat loss and muscle building and just mood optimization, the most important thing seems to be hormonal optimization, which is a holistic phenomenon, rather than just figuring out which nutrients I need to plug into my body.
That's so interesting. And I know sleep is also a big issue people in recovery deal with. And I know you've listed a number of supplements to help with that. But as you said, if people are piling on these supplements, but eating McDonald's and chips every day, like it's only going to do so much, I imagine. So they need the nutrients. And when you say complex carbs, what do you mean by that exactly? Just some examples for people.
Sure. So a complex carb would take a little longer to digest than a simple carb. So your tablespoon of sugar in your coffee, that's classic simple carb. If you were to have sprouted bread, that would be a complex carb, or even a sweet potato would be a complex carb. So typically carbs that release sugar into your bloodstream slower tend to be better because you don't end up with this blood sugar high and then blood sugar crash.